First, I just want to say thank you to you and your team, all of the students here today. I think just listening to these very quick presentations, you can see the enthusiasm and the passion and the care, both from talking to the mentors briefly, but also hearing just the experience that this has brought to students. And I, for one, am both sad that that wasn't around when I was in high school, but also elated because these kids are brilliant. I think I would have really lost because they have really shown that they put a lot of work into what they are doing. So just a little bit about me, as Rob mentioned. My name is DeAndrea Salvador. I'm in my third term in the North Carolina General Assembly, where Still Creek is a part of the district. But prior to joining the General Assembly, and even during my term, I've always, in recent years, been very passionate about STEM, about science, and also the impact that as well as nonprofits can have on our lives. For me personally, one of the reasons why, when you mentioned this event in the organization, I was so enthusiastic to join is because I could very quickly remember moments that teachers or mentors had in my life that really just a small conversation took me down a very different path than if that conversation was not there. I think about my third grade teacher that just kind of jokingly said, "Oh, you really like math, you're a mathematician," and just spoke me up in that and leaned into that curiosity. I think about some of the nonprofits that I saw in high school and how we did advocacy, and that planted seeds to become a legislator later. And so when we think about the work that is happening here today, all of the skills that are being built, but also the relationships that are being built among all of the students that are participating, but the adults as well, I just think that I can only imagine what we will see in coming years from all of this and what we're already seeing today. One thing for me that I certainly think about when the frame of today is workforce development, STEM, et cetera. I was recently appointed by the governor to our AI Leadership Council. And the council is framed around a vision that's similar to the vision that I would hope that we have for our state, is that is a place where people want to live, work, they are resilient, they have, they're well taken care of. And when we're thinking about the skills that are required, not only today, but in the future, whether that is critical thinking, whether that's problem solving, whether that's the relational dynamics and building together, you can see how each and every one of those pillars are direct byproducts of what is being instilled here. And as Rob mentioned, I recently wrapped up my MBA at MIT, and part of that work, we did some research into a large population model, so similar to a large language model that was looking at skills, and is completely open source with the hope to do a snapshot of what are potential impacts of policies in workforce development. How can folks think about the future of work? And how is it concentrated or not? And one constant through line for sure is the ability to be able to lean in and to apply, even with those drastic shifts. And so, whether that is in robotics, which actually I think does quite well, if you look at the pipeline of initial augmentation and automation impacts over years, but even in other areas as well, it creates such a dynamic nature that really, in my opinion, and I hope others, just shows what we mean when we say workforce development. We're talking about talent. We're talking about people. We're talking about connecting the dots of what people might find that they have an aptitude for, but without either an opportunity to see that it's there or the ability to be able to apply additional effort, that can oftentimes be missed. And when we also think about that access, and we heard from just an incredible all-girls group, giving the ability to try and to see And to even try and fail allows for those feedback loops to happen so much faster, allows for that resiliency to build up such that when something new that we aren't even imagining today is at the forefront of all of our newspapers and headlines, those really core tendencies that make us who we are as people, that make us think about how we navigate through the world, are continued to be embedded here. And those are things like community, like folks coming together on a Thursday evening to learn from kids about what they've built and see ways that we can continue to dive in and build further. That is things like the problem solving, the critical thinking, the collaboration, the incredibly rapid nature of their having to build and work that we are considering as well. And so I just have to say I'm so enthusiastic about where this is starting, but I certainly hope that we can also see it grow. I imagine that there's so many additional children and kids that could certainly benefit from the work that you all are doing, that either from our state, which I won't get into our budget, but I would certainly love to see continued support because there's been previous support, but also from individuals and local levels that we can continue to see that too. I promised I didn't want to get too in depth with any of like the background or anything like that. I'm happy to answer questions, but what I want to come away with today is that we're, yes, seeing a lot of change, but what we really are also seeing is an incredible opportunity if we are willing to put in the puzzle pieces to take it, to really commit to saying if there is certain access to skills, access to certain types of workforce. For instance, I was just recently talking to some of the community colleges that says for the first time, Pell Grants will be able to be applied to certain types of workforce development. And now they're trying to consider how is technology and maybe even things among manufacturing, robotics, things of that sort, how can that be applied to gain additional access to? So while we're thinking about the rapid scale of change, there's also ways that we can leverage what we're seeing here, leverage what we are hearing from business communities, what we're hearing from institutions to really continue to build and move those types of efforts forward. So as much as I think of anything with our, moment and changing of time, I think North Carolina is incredibly well positioned because we have really thoughtful, caring, and brilliant people who come together in various forms of community to move things forward. And I can't wait to see where everything goes. And so for me, I think about, there's a statistic for running for office for a woman that actually kind of equates very similarly in STEM, is that sometimes for a woman, they might have to say it 7 times before someone jumps in. Or by the age of elementary school, you might start to see a deviation in between how the younger male students view engineering, science jobs, et cetera, versus how the young girls do. And programs like this showcase that people can work to their ability and be able to do what they desire to do. And it can also show how folks are doing the work in those various roles. If you go 20 plus years without maybe closely knowing an engineer, no matter who you are, it might be really hard to envision yourself as an engineer. Doesn't mean it can't be done, but that access makes it so incredible. And then we think about just the speech that we heard just a little bit ago, where you started at 13, you're 26 now, you're still continuing. Half of your life has been involved in this work, and it's a testament, it has to be a testament without even knowing you closely, to the impact that these types of programs and initiatives are having and can continue to have. So all of that to say is I really hope the ticker moved up some. If not, I'll help it. But I'm also just really excited about where we're going to continue to see, both in upcoming competitions, but also for all of the children that are participating, the youth that are participating, where they're going to go from here. Because no matter what they decide, those core principles of community, of resilience, of problem solving, of being able to respond when something doesn't work out, and figuring out where you go from there is going to take them far wherever those next steps may be. So thank you so much.